here in Los Angeles. I'll describe this as the Fairfax District. It's well known for the farmers market nearby and the Grove Shopping Center. It's considered upscale in many parts of it. That Pan Pacific Park is probably, off the top of my head, about a half mile away. That's where it started. The protesters left the park. They came down 3rd Street, and then here it ended at Fairfax. And there it is, the dark, smoky sound of protest. And we're going to move back just a little bit here, just in case.
That's a very good idea. We trust that you are staying a safe distance away, and we appreciate your photographer zooming in to give us a closer look, obviously, but your safety is most important here. Paul, when we, look at all of this and we saw protesters gathering in multiple groups, it's so horrific to see the damage and the violence that we've watched on our air already this afternoon. What did you hear from protesters as you've been down there covering it today? What was their message and their goal?
The first and primary message, we're going to start with what was that peaceful protest in Pan Pacific Park. Time and time again, we heard Black Lives Matter. We heard the chants of George Floyd. We also heard people say they want all officers involved in the George Floyd death or on scene to be charged, the other 3. There was also a lot of signs that said, "White silence is violence." That's the first part of this protest. Then it transited into the march. The march is going extremely well. Goes right down 3rd Street. Everybody's cooperating. It's peaceful. They get to the intersection, and that's where I think you picked me up, of Fairfax and 3rd. They block the intersection. This would be something like being right in downtown Manhattan or San Francisco or Chicago. It's an extremely critical artery to crisscrossing this part of Los Angeles. In the intersection, things were going fine. We did see protesters climbing up, as we said, onto a bus. We saw them getting up on traffic light poles, but there was no violence. We did not see any police go into the intersection. But when the protesters started down 3rd Street, heading toward Santa Monica, the police set up a line and blocked their progress. From what we could tell, we didn't see that there was one moment of a certain flashpoint or somebody threw a punch or whatever the case may be. Then there was a line of police and a line of protesters. And the protesters, many of them, began arguing with the police, screaming at the police. That's when there was a lot of expletives, blank the police, as well as, and just excuse us, we're resetting our camera here, light pushing and shoving. And then the shoving became more intense. Then police tried to clear the intersection, and that's when things got out of hand. The protesters either backed up the police, we can't say if they backed them up for sure, or the police chose to put up a line behind all these cruisers. And when they set up behind the cruisers, remember there's thousands of people involved in this, those cars that were in the line basically were the subject of vandalization. So you see this car burning. I'll just go ahead and count as to how many police vehicles are damaged. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least damaged in this intersection. Obviously, they also got hit with all sorts of spray paint, and that police vehicle now is a burning carcass and a former shell of itself. And it looks, by the way, like we've got most of the protesters backed up toward Fairfax Avenue. I will say this, and I can't see everywhere around here, but I have not seen any damage, vandalism, or looting of any of the buildings around here. It looks like off in the distance, just a little left, Chris, through the smoke, there's a Trader Joe's. I believe they might have spray painted some of that, but there has not been any windows broken out at least right here. And as I said, Anna, and as you well know, when you're on the inside, sometimes there's something else going on that you can't see. So please let me know if you see any windows or anything being broken out elsewhere. But I'm not seeing it right now. And I am, as I said, seeing a concerted effort by the police to clear this intersection of Fairfax and 3rd. By the way, this is going to be a monumental task just to get all these police cars towed, to say the least. Other damaged cars, somebody's popped their tires. That's pretty obvious if you just look over here to the left.
Yep.
And as I said, that one got set on fire. And I'll show you a little bit more about how big this box is that the police officers have formed. So in the direction of the burning car, now the smoke's so thick that we can't see toward Fairfax Avenue, but then go this way. We'll give you a long pan. Officers sealing off protesters in this parking lot. And then down 3rd Street, the other intersection that got blocked by police at Edinburgh and 3rd. So this is we'll call it one long city block that was completely erupting in violence this afternoon in Los Angeles. And for now, as dramatic as the image is, this burning car seems to somehow have quelled some of the tensions as the protesters and the police separated away from it.
You're right, and we could see in those overhead shots, the aerials that we were getting from our affiliates in that area, Paul, it does look like protesters have backed way, way, way up. However, they have not left the area. We can still see in these images, it appears hundreds at least, of protesters still waiting in that zone, watching what's going to happen next as that police vehicle continues to burn and the smoke billows from that zone. Paul.